on this beautiful conscious music reality together, and putting together this beautiful show. And I just wanted to ask you, why conscious music?
If you think about how the world works if you go down to the fundamentals of what it is and what this reality is, you've got, we call it the fundamental tone. It's the original tone, and music is part of all of us. If you look at all the indigenous tribes across the world, even to today's society, we've always had music as a rich part of our culture. And to me, what I find really sad is that it's just been turned into a throwaway commodity, i.e., the next song coming in, next song coming in, next song coming in. And I feel that that's not only disrespectful for the listener, but also disrespectful for the artist, because artists come up with a concept, an idea, to come up with something to offer to you. And there's many conscious artists like John Lennon, towards the end of his career, was writing some really important conscious songs, and Bob Marley and other great artists. When you actually listen to the lyrics, it actually inspires something inside of you, which is important because you're starting to open up your consciousness. We're living in a world today that's very closed with its consciousness, very narrow-minded, very polarized, very pulled apart. And I feel that music, when we do it properly, actually brings people together and makes people realize, hey, that songwriter is going through the same as me at the moment. I'm understanding that transition. And as we're going through this enormous transition at the moment on the planet, where we're seeing lots of things looking like they're going wrong for a reason, there is a way out of this to make us feel, hey, we can get out of this. So conscious music is a concept that is starting to emerge on the internet, and I feel it's a wonderful thing to bring conscious artists together to actually share this feeling, to make us realize we can get out of this if we start to collaborate with each other and open our minds to different ideas of how humanity should be working on this planet. It's an incredible thing that we can do as an event, as artists. So meeting you here online, I feel our technology is incredible, what we have now. If we were to use it in the right way, we truly could have a global community of like-minded, conscious human beings actually working together to make life a lot better for everybody, not just a few at the top, which is what's happening at the moment, but for everybody, so that our lives become richer. Because how do we learn information? We learn information from listening and opening. We've got two ears and one mouth. And listening to songs, to me, is like listening to mantras. So one of my favorite singers at the moment is John Anderson, who sings with Vangelis. They've got like a couple of albums together, and I'm re-listening to that at the moment. And you hear these wonderful, wise quotes in every song, and even um, really strong messages of "Don't kill the whale" with John Anderson on his own. Don't kill the whale. Whales are such important things to this planet, and also from every ending there's a beginning, which is one of the mantras that I use as well in songs. And you think everything's changing, and we're not going with that change. We're holding on to these polarized views, and music helps you open up to that when you actually listen to a really good singer-songwriter who's actually singing from the heart, saying, this is what I feel, this is how I have a viewpoint of this world. That helps to change people's perspectives, as it always has done. You've always had great revolutions or rebellions coming out of music, and that's what I feel we need. Not even a revolution or rebellion, just a complete change of the whole system that we live in under at the moment, which has been manifesting over 2,000 odd years now, maybe 10,000 odd years now, and that needs to change. So why I feel conscious music is needed right now is because people need somewhere to go to make them feel like they're not going crazy. There's people feeling the same way that I'm feeling at the moment. There's people actually doing something about it, and there's many people doing lots of things about this. So that's why I feel this is an important project to get together and to get it to grow and make it bigger. So that's what I feel. But what do you feel, Deborah? What do you feel about it?
Thank you for asking, Peter. I'm excited about this entire festival, this day, this place of uplifting consciousness through music and performance, because ultimately, I think that when somebody teaches, there's a different type of listening, and when somebody is talking and speaking, there's a different type of listening. And sometimes in that listening, there's this idea that, and I've spoken from stage many times, and I've witnessed where I'm speaking about something that's particularly important to someone, and they check out. And the reason they check out, it's completely unconscious, but they check out because they're starting to compare themselves to what that speaker or trainer or healer or guru or whoever is telling them. They're starting to go, well, I don't know. Do I do that? Should I do that? Maybe that's what I'm doing wrong. Maybe that's why I don't get it. Well, I don't know if I agree with that. And then they come back about 20 minutes later, and even though some part of them has heard, their consciousness has left the room. And with music and entertaining, there's a whole other sort of level of openness. Their heart is open, their listening is open, their emotions are there, because it's no longer them having to compare themselves to some lesson they're being taught. It's them being on a journey where they get to feel. And when they get to feel, they're open to the experience of it. And the thought comes later. The contemplation comes later. The openness is where we begin. So for me, the idea of conscious music and doing a festival and having an event and bringing people together and spending a few hours where it's really just this beautiful open heart connection that we get to have is the pathway through to the type of communities that we all want to see blossoming on the planet at this time.
I absolutely agree. Feel is the word. Feel it. I feel you. There's this kind of an expression that's coming out of American films a lot at the moment, which really I first saw it in The Wire, that series, The Wire, called "I Feel You." I feel you. So feeling is such an important part of this because we are so bombarded now, especially in the Western world, that we're becoming numb. Lots of people are becoming numb. And you're dead right about the gurus. I've always said I've never been a guru to anybody. I might be a guide, but to be a guru, you take on a great responsibility, and you cause also confusion within the listener because they think, well, do I, like you said, do I agree with him? Do I not agree with him? What do I think about that? I don't know. But with music, there's a more of a, like you say, a more of a subtle way of getting the message across to say, what do you think? What do you think? It's more of a question rather than like an authoritative statement. And I think that's really important. But it's the feeling. It's the feeling that resonates in the heart chakra. I call it the heart chakra, where you think, yeah, I resonate with that. I can feel that. I really want to be thinking in that way now. Whereas I feel we've been completely moved into a way where we're actually being trained to think in certain ways about certain subjects.
I would think that we're being trained in not to think at all, actually. Let's turn to the screens, let's turn to some search engine, let's turn to Google, let's turn, and all the answers are there, like just plug and play. Now they're creating this virtual rural world, and hey, the virtual world is so much better than the real world. Like, yeah, you have to go work in this job somewhere and do all this stuff, and maybe you don't have that great a life, but no big deal, because you can come home and you can tap into this beautiful virtual world, and there you can have anything you want. It's great. My cat has decided to demand love right now, so if there's stuff going on, it's because she's here. But and I think that that's not what people signed up for. That's not what humanity is really about. And it's not about virtual. It's not about showing up, and it's not about commoditization. It's not about all these things that we've been spoon fed for so long, that we have bought in because it's generational, right? Generation after generation after generation, we're buying into this idea that bigger is better, and you got to have status, and you need to be recognized, and it's like, we as people, really, we're a community, and if we don't have each other, we literally have nothing. And I don't care how much money you've got in the bank, you've got nothing if you don't have each other. And then if we don't honor life on this planet, we have less than nothing, because that which sustains us is gone. So then there's nothing to sustain us. So this whole consciousness movement, and I think music is one of the ways to really open the doors cross culture, cross the great divide of so much of this separation that's been fed for so long now. It's such a hot topic, the idea of discrimination, and now we go back generations and say it's your fault for this, and white people are bad people. It's part of the system right now to basically say that we're terrible, bad, awful people, and they're teaching that to our children, and I think music transcends all of that. You can,
Mm-hmm.
no matter where you are in the world, you can sit down at a piano and play a C, and everybody's going to go, oh yeah, that's a C. Not, no, that's not a C. I call that it's art. Just, and a painting, they'll look at the painting and they'll have different interpretations of that painting. And nobody's going to be like, how dare you interpret that in that painting? That just doesn't happen. Like, we appreciate, we listen, we accept things in a way creatively that we don't, even religiously, we don't accept in religion, because there's so much separation that's been brought into it. So I think that music is one of those unifying forces. And I know that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, that's why I like the expression the new Renaissance, because when you look back at the time of the Renaissance, the great artists that came out of that time in Italy and Southern Europe, it was a time where art was actually appreciated. You had great musicians coming out of that point as well, and it was looked upon as something to be cherished. And even the artists were almost treated reverentially. I think that's a bit over the top. Personally, I think we're all human beings together, but it was that great time when we were in peace. So, to most human beings I know and have met and have spoken to about war want peace. Most human beings don't like to have friction in their lives, but it seems what's happening now is that people have been so polarized and so conditioned to be like this that they miss the friction and the arguments, and they want to get into a fight with you as soon as they possibly can. And it happens when you go to a supermarket or you go into the high street. You can see the busybodies looking for a little bit of trouble, and you're thinking, wow, where did you come from? Especially after lockdown, and I spent a lot of time in lockdown writing music. I did a lot of work on my online business and stuff like that. So it didn't really feel too different to me, apart from missing going to community centres and seeing people in a bigger way. So when I came out of lockdown, it seemed like so many people have been damaged. So many people
Yes.
have been really hurt by this. So many people
Yes.
have been polarized, and you see children now scared to come next to you as an adult with a mask on, with his scared eyes, and you're thinking, wow. I remember when I was so fortunate. My father was such an amazing man. He took us around the world when I was 6 years of age. And I still talk about those meetings with the indigenous tribes of the Aborigines and the Fijians as if it was yesterday. And I was explaining that to someone the other day, that it was their energy that I felt.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the communication out of the mouth. And then when they started to play the didgeridoos and make their percussion noises and dances, you go, oh my goodness me, I get you. I
Well,
feel
and what
you.
did they do? What did they do in ancient times? The Aboriginal cultures and so forth, when people would arrive, the things that would happen would be they would share food, they would share fire, they would share music and song and dance and celebration. Not that everybody came in peace, unfortunately, but for those times when the reality was that, we're meeting one another, that was our way of welcoming. We share the fire together, we share the food together, we share the music and the celebration and the dance and all of those things. And that's missing from this world now. Everything is isolation, and even more so with what's happened for COVID and all of the other stuff, and we could go down that road, but let's not. Let's just recognize and agree, I'm in the same boat as you. A lot of what I do I still kept doing, but I've witnessed the change in the world and the way
Mm,
that people are with each other, and the uncertainty and the judgment that's being perpetuated. And yet the one place that I notice, there's either angst or there's joy, is in the celebration that is music, in the celebration that is entertainment, and and the feelingness of our nature, and helping us to try to reconnect to the feeling. And the biggest thing I think that music does over, say, a film, is that you're not taken on such a deep journey when you're in music that you are in a film where you're going for an hour and a half or 2 hours, and you're kind of thinking and questioning, and you're following that path and that mission and that person. I think sometimes, even though I'm all in favor of that, believe me, I think movies can be the most incredible tool that we have. At the same time, there's sort of an out inside of that, in the respect that we get lost inside that character and we follow that character. And at the end of the day, we look at it sometimes as that character went through that. Who would I be if I went through that? Sometimes gets lost in that translation. Whereas when you listen to music, simply by the fact that it's always shorter and it's a journey, but it's a 3-minute journey, it's a 5-minute journey. That we relate to it, but then it leaves us on the other side just feeling, where am I now? Right, as opposed to giving this completion. So I think everything has its time and space. What I'm excited about within this conscious music movement is the idea of creating doorways into consciousness that are not following through to the end of the story for that character, but are rather starting the story for the individuals who are listening. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. What straight popped into my head straight away was bands like the Doors, Jim Morrison, who's like the Doors of Perception, and Break On Through to the Other Side. And I remember seeing the film, which I thought was I don't know if it was a close depiction of his life, but it was him outside of the club, screaming at the people, do any of you people actually know that you're alive? Because
Mm.
he was really trying to push the boundaries of himself, and I think dark forces got involved with him and pulled him into a different direction, because he started off as a shy poet that didn't even want to look at the audience when he was first on stage with the Doors, and all of a sudden he becomes this grand spokesman. So that change in him was incredible. But you listen to his lyrics, and even when you go back to his lyrics now, albums like uh, what was it called, American Prayer, where they've taken his poetry and put music to it. The Doors put music to it, and you listen back to that and you go, well, he's singing about the Native American Indians and their spirituality there. And you go, yeah, that's really cool. That made me think, and made me want to research into the Native American Indian culture a little bit more deeply. Him and it was like another film star, Marlon Brando, was really big on the American Native Indian culture as well. So two of those favorite icons of mine made me look into that. So film and music did that for me. So
Hmm.
when you look at what people's influences are and what they've said about their lives, you realise, wow, they've got a rich substance there that they're trying to put into like a 3 to 5 minute song. And it is like a quick blast of something that will spark the imagination up if you really listen to the lyrics. And that was one of the things that really kind of disturbed me a bit when I was right in the heart of my music career, when I was younger than I am now. And it was that only 3% of the population were listening to the lyrics. And
Right.
there were amazing lyrics in these songs. And in one of my first gigs that I tried to get, it was called the Bull in Putney. It was quite a big gig in the London scene, and they said, we can't put your band on because your lyrics are too deep and they'll make people think. You go, what are you talking about? You
I
just
heard the same conversation though from people in the music business, high up in the music business, that say, "Hey, and I'm not, certainly not naming names or anything along that names, but the disillusionment was exactly what you said. Said we don't want, the machine wasn't them personally. The machine does not want
no,
songs to evoke feeling and thought and emotion, which is such a shame because when you look back over time, those songs did do exactly that. But somehow we moved away from that, and now we move into, I don't know, songs that perpetuate mindlessness, violence, sex. Nothing wrong with healthy sex, but it gets to a
yeah,
point
yeah,
where it's like, you know, um, and just gotta have this and gotta have that, and we're being suppressed, we're being put down, and we need to, get rid of this and get rid of that. And it's like that's not what is at the core of us as human conscious beings. Like, that's not us. That's not who we truly are. That's an ego. That's a low based ego that's based in survival and really under the affliction of what I think is the biggest issue on the planet, which is greed. They're underneath
Mm.
this idea of greed, and then the haves and the have nots, and then how that suppresses people. So this whole event is all about looking at this big picture that we've just talked about, and at the same time providing an alternative, a way through, and connecting people and allowing people to connect to themselves, to connect to that space within themselves that is far more the universal we and us and the community that we have always been meant to be, and to come together with others and to recognize first and foremost, I think, Peter, that we are not alone, that
Yeah.
we're not by ourselves on some island somewhere, you know, hoping
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
praying that maybe we might survive this, that there's really hundreds of thousands, if not millions, and perhaps a couple billion of us, or more, feeling perhaps a little isolated, a little alone, or maybe in our small groups together. This is the opportunity to bring it all together in celebration and in music and in consciousness. So I would love for you, we've been talking for about 21 minutes, so I want to kind of wrap it up so that we can use this on the website so people get to know a little bit about, I guess, us and this movement. I'd love for you just to give the details of what the event is, so we've got that too.
Oh, you got it's conscious music for the people. The tagline for it is tuning into your higher vibration. It's a live online music festival on March the 18th, 2023. So put that on your calendar. March the 18th, 2023. It's a 10 a.m. PDT time, 1 p.m. EDT time, 6 p.m. UK time. So it's going to be streamed live on the internet. You can go to https double stroke consciousmusecollective.com forward stroke. Well, just go to that and you'll be able to contact us and register. It's a free event. You can register for that. There are VIP tickets as well where you get backstage and you get to meet the artists and have a chat and have conversations like this as well. So it's all on there on the website, consciousmusecollective.com. If you go to that, it's on Google now. It's registered on Google now because this is brand new. This is all brand new, and the website is brand new, and it's not the best website in the world. So, but that's okay.
Conscious Muse,
Collective,
MUSE,
yeah,
collective. Conscious,
MUSE collective.
CONSCIOUS, Muse, MUSE collective, COLLECTIVE, right? Did I pass my
Yeah,
spelling? Yeah, .com.
it's a pretty
So you
mouthful.
get all the information there. So we're going live on February the 18th. And there's ways to participate, and there'll be things to participate in after. So thanks for getting together with me, Paul Parker. Paul, I'm looking at Paul in the middle of your name, Peter Paul
Everybody
Parker,
sees the pool in the
otherwise known
middle.
as Spider-Man in my world. It's great fun to be here with you, and we're going to have a lot more of it. So we will be with you all soon. Until then, consciousness and peace.
Consciousness is cool. Conscious is cool.
If we plant enough seeds.